Hello! Welcome to Really Real with Richie Redding. I'm Richie Redding, and we have a bit of a doozy for you today. It's going to be a lot of weird sex stuff, so if you're not into that, take a hike, pal. As you can see, we are still back in at least his parents' house because of yet more crazy fire alarm, water damage shit happening. But yeah, I think I might actually like this better than the brick wall. Anyway, and our dearest Robert will not be joining us today from the catacombs of wherever the hell he lives in his weird archy ceiling thing that's almost touching his head all the time. Instead, I have as my audience, just to help me not feel like I'm going completely crazy and just a guy in a basement talking to a camera, I've got my buddy the Twiz Man on Zoom, who's an actual Nigerian prince. For those of you that don't know, he's an actual Yoruban. What you know about that? Yoruban, baby. So Twiz is my virtual assistant that helps me with Funnier Than You Are, my comedy consulting company, and great kid. Great sense of humor, and I immediately, when I got a Nigerian assistant, asked him if he knew about or knew anybody that has ever done the Nigerian prince scam, and he legitimately didn't know what I was talking about. So Nigerians don't know the Nigerian prince scam, which makes me think there's a lot of money to be had on scamming Nigerians with the Nigerian prince scam. But we get, look, they're on the come up. All right, Nigeria is on the come up. It is developing, baby. So I say we cash in on this and start our own new scam that it'll be like, hi, I'm a 99-year-old U.S. senator, and all of my money has been put in a blind trust. I've been outperforming the S&P 500 for the last 35 years, and all I need is $50,000 to unlock that shit. Ooh, let's get this money. But I was blown away that you did not know the Nigerian prince thing. But also, one of the most rewarding things of having a Nigerian assistant was that he listened back to one of my old albums, and there's a Nigerian guy that makes an appearance, and I have it on good word that I nailed the accent. And let me ask you something. Who do you think made the umbrella? But the umbrella. Ah, man, maybe I will have to have Bobby pipe you in, because good African I mean, dude, that's how American I am. I think there's Africans and zebras. I'm sorry, there's elephants and zebras just walking through downtown Lagos. We stink. But, yeah, I actually got good at doing a Nigerian accent because we are trash TV watchers, and there's two guys on 90 Day Fiance that are Nigerian dudes. That the one guy is so fucking funny that I mean dude Michael deserves every dollar that he ever gets. He deserves his citizenship for putting up with this old battle axe. She's like 60, he's like 25. And he gets pulled aside at one point by his brothers, and his brother says to him, "Who is the head of the household?" And I've said that whenever Lisa's acting up, that's my way of giving her a little verbal backhand. Who is the head of the household? Does not get old. Does not get old. But yeah, man. Okay, so I feel like a check-in is in order as per usual on what had happened this past weekend. And Yeah, so I had a bunch of awesome shows in the city, and then somehow in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten into a time warp of dealing with shitbird promoters again, and this dude that I can't believe it. It's on me because I didn't check in the week before canceling some other shows that I had in the city, and Bobby was actually supposed to come with me, and it gets to day of, and he still hadn't gotten back to me, or no, the day before, and I hit him up, I text him, and then he hits me back, uh, "Who's this? Call me." So right away I was like, "Well, this isn't great." And this dude's a comedian that, I mean, when I started out, he was 50, so the guy has to be in his 70s now, and and I call him. He's like, "Yeah, who's this?" And I tell him, and he's like, "Uh huh." He's like, "Dude, what's up with the show tomorrow? Are we good?" No, no. Remind me what we're doing. It's like, what? So for a second, I thought he was playing the like a senior moment card or something. I was like, "We're doing a show tomorrow," and I canceled other stuff to do it. The show. He's like, "Oh man, you're not gonna believe it. This guy fucked me. Man, I should have called you. Yeah, I should have called you. That's on me." I was like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Oh, hey, look, I gotta go." He just got off the phone, and then I'm texting him. I'm like, "Hey, I need to know yes or no if this thing's happening." Doesn't get back to me at all. And then the next day, I hit him like, "Hey, I'm assuming that this is off, but this is really shitty business. We're never working together again." And he hits me back. He's like, "Oh man, I'm taking a loss, man. Come on, man, I'm taking a loss here." He hit me with the number one line of Janky Promoters everywhere, which is, "Yeah, man, there's water damage in the building." I promise you, if anybody watching this is an aspiring any kind of entertainer that has to deal with a third party promoter, if the promoter says the venue had water damage, 100% of the time it's absolute bullshit. That I mean, dude, I've literally had this happen probably like 7 times, right? And the first 2 times I was the dumb white kid and I believed it, and at some point I would check in with a black comic and they're like, "Man, there's no fucking water damage," and and I get so he hits me with that. He hits me with the water damage line, and I did what I learned from those guys. I was like, "Oh man, that's a shame, dude. Give me the number of the venue, and I'm going to call and see if there's anything I can do to help them with the water damage." And there's just never a response. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, ah, man, I can get into it with this guy on text for 10 minutes because he did something else that pissed me off. He's like, "Hey, it's called show business." It's like, wait, you're schooling me on the business after you just like apparently knew for a month this show wasn't happening and didn't inform me. But yeah, delete and block. You're out of my life, schmuck. But dude, it reminded me of it's a thing. I guess every performer has to deal with it, and like I've never seen anything that on TV that really deals properly. There's actually a Mike Epps has a movie called Janky Promoters, which is pretty funny, but that's about like promoting rap shit. But the there's something about comedy that attracts the best and worst people in the world. That like there's so many shitbirds when you're starting out, especially. It's the low level guys that you have to worry about, right? That it's and this is a universal thing that I forget who it was that first told me this. I think it was Nate Bargatze. I think that was like the the smaller piece of the comedy world that somebody has, the bigger of a shitbag they're going to be. right? They're going to be an absolute tyrant. But the higher up you get, the more people, the more successful people that you run into, the more helpful they are, the more generous they are, the more they want you to do well. And that completely carries that, like, the worst club in the world is the place where the girls are getting sexually harassed and you have to wait around for fucking 25 minutes to try to get a check for a show that you didn't want to do. But, like, you meet JP from HBO, and even though he's, like, not giving me something, he's like, hey man, really hope that we can work together one day. You're great. Right? And it's like, and it's that thing versus like I'm doing you a favor. Here's your $15 check, shitbag. But there's this dude, I'll air his ass out, Dan from Rock Solid Entertainment, that multiple times, I got by this guy, but it was because, like, at the time in Philly, there was no scene. So, like, it's not even about the money. It's just, like, you want to be able to do the shows, right? Because, like, stage time was just so precious. And he got a lot of good comics. Just got them good. This guy's the definition of, this actually happened. There's the joke of, like, a crackhead will steal your wallet and help you look for it. And Corey Fernandez was there in South Jersey, and he calls me. He's like, Rich, dude, I'm gonna fucking swing at this guy. I swear to God, like, this is the time. I'm gonna fucking swing at him, dude. I'm like, why? What's happening? He's like, well, he said he paid me, and I know he didn't pay me, but he swears he paid me, and now he's looking all over the place. Like, he's making me help him look for this money. The place is closed. Nobody's here. And this dude's searching on his hands and knees for money with me. So, and that's who this guy is, right? And that guy is the reason that I know that, especially if it's not necessarily racial, but especially if a black promoter ever goes, hey man, how much we say? if he's scratching the beard and talking about money at the same time, how much money did I tell you? You're about to get fucked. Like, it's go time, dude, right? And this guy Dan, and this guy Dan had gotten me so many times in the beginning. And also, when I first started doing comedy, at the point when I was dealing with this guy, like, I don't even think there, like, were text messages. So it was like a call. And so it's just like my recollection of this call versus this stupid liar face, right? This guy that's just a liar. Every time, with this shit. He got me so many times that once I had turned the corner of being fully professional, and like, dude, it would be like, hey, I know I said $50 to do like 15 or 20 minutes and drive like an hour to get there. I know I said 50, but I got 37. Like, 37, motherfucker. Like, you got to be ready to take the loss. Like, this is, I did my time. And he, and it was always these, like, little nickel and dime things like that. And finally, once I crossed the line of fully supporting myself doing this, he called me and he was like, Rich, man, no bullshit. I got a room. I've got a corporate sponsor now, and I've got $1,000 for you, man. And it was like another thing that he did was like, it's 5 months away, just an impossibly far time away. And he goes on and on and on about how he's doing things different and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, Dan, this is what I'm going to need you to do. He's like, what's up? I was like, I need you to put $2,000 in my bank account. And if I show up, I'll give $1,000 back. There's this 3 count. And he's like, Oh man, come on, man. What I ever do to you? It's like you fucked me every single time. You fucked me out of $13. Why would I ever in a million years think you're actually gonna come through with some kind of real money? Like there's going to be water damage, dude. Every time something is going wrong. But so that dude, and the worst part of this guy was that he had as his host the what can only be described as the most immediately unlikable comedian you've ever seen in your life. My sister went to one of their shows one time, and because it was like by their house, right? And it's her and her husband. And I tell them that before we go in. I was like, just so you know, the host is the most immediately unlikable guy you've ever seen. We walk into this place. It's a big ass venue, and there's 100 people in there that are all a couple 100 feet away. And we take one step into the room, and my sister goes, "Got him." Like just out of 100-person lineup, she's like, "That's the one." Dude, he was like a 50-year-old. Are you? This is hilarious. Twiz, are you familiar with the term wigger? No. It's white guy that wants to be black. And so this dude, he's 50 years old, and he dressed like he was like a backup dancer for a hip hop band. Like it was just the worst. And his material was always like this was an actual joke of his. Stupid people. I hate stupid people. The other day, my buddy sees me washing my car from over the fence. He goes, "Hey, Mike, are you washing the car?" Stupid people. But then the best part of it was that whenever it would flop, and it always did, he just goes, "Oh, so you guys are stupid." Always, and you would watch him while he was on stage just pour like shots of 151 into himself, so that he's bombing and never wants to get off, and he just keeps getting drunker and drunker. So it would be like a 40-minute hosting set of that, and like that was the good joke. At some point, I got to make a note to self that actually make this note for me too, is that we have to watch Mike Rage on the show one of these days. It is a guaranteed hit. But so since I mentioned Corey Fernandez, I have to give his. So me and him, when we were coming up, he was my guy that we would always like check in with each other for road trips gone wrong, just terrible promoters, all that kind of stuff. And he called me one time, and he was calling me from Hong Kong, and he's like, "Dude, I just had the worst story ever. I was in fucking Australia, dude, and I got thrown out of a van." I'm like, "Wait, what? Slow down." And it was like 3 days after Christmas or something, right? And it was like Christmas Day. He was going to be opening for Michael Blackson in Australia, and Mike told him to go first. He does. He gets there. It's Nigerian promoters. It's your boys, right? And so a jukes is in the air. A swindle is possible. And while he's there, Mike decides that. Well, Mike hits the promoters up and says, "We were on the plane. My son had an asthma attack. We got to take him to the hospital, not making the first show." And they're supposed to do like 4 shows or something. There's only 4 cities in that whole fucking country. So they just tell Corey like, "Okay, just hang out in the hotel. Hopefully he'll be here for the next days." He's still just sitting in the hotel. These Nigerian dudes, like, they don't give him anything. They're not showing him around. They only care about the headliner, right? And finally, they get the call after a few days. Mike's not going to make it, and and Corey's like, all right, well, I spent money getting here. Like, I showed up. You guys still owe me something. You got to cover my costs and something. You got to give me half the money. I fucking showed up. And they're like, and they pick him up to take, and they keep like pushing back when they're gonna pay him, and they pick him up to to take him to the airport, and the whole way to the airport, and it's three big dudes. He's not a big guy, and he's all he's outnumbered. He's in a foreign country, all this shit. He's like, guys, when am I going to get my money? And they're like, no, we'll give it to you at the airport. We'll give it to you at the airport. And they fight, and they also had put his bags, like, they didn't put it in the back of the van. They put it where you would normally put it. They put it like right at the sliding door, and instead of having the normal thing of two people up front, one of them and Corey in the back, it's the driver. And behind the driver, you've got another one of the dudes, and then behind him, you've got another one of the dudes, and then Corey in the middle. Right? So it's all, so it already feels like you might just get choked to death or something if they were Sicilian. So they finally get to the actual airport. He's like, all right, so dudes, I need my fucking money, and the guy in the front just reaches back and slides the door open. One guy throws his bags out, and the other dude just donkey kicks him out the door, and they just speed off. He's just in Australia, fucking pissed, out like $1,500. So he couldn't call me from there, and he winds up calling from Hong Kong, like I said, and I had just had a semi-bad show, and man, was I happy to hear about his misfortunes. It made me feel so much better about myself, so I thank you for that, Corey. I am a long way into this episode for having just started. Twiz, are you still there, buddy? What happened to you? Alright. Alright, so with that said, I need to do a slight bit of housekeeping that turns out the Mexican white supremacist might be a thing. That I was spouting off about how fake news stories start, and there's a chance that this guy was a Mexican white supremacist, but can we agree that should be on some kind of checklist of red flags when it's time to take guns away from crazy people? Maybe. If you get an SS tattoo and Hitler would have killed you first round, maybe it's time to, take the guns for a month, But, okay, with that said, I feel better. But I talk all these conspiracies. I do have to check in when I'm possibly wrong about stuff. But I do still stand by that that's how the echo chamber starts, and it's worth listening to. But, following up on my girl, Dianne Feinstein, Bobby plugged this in. Great story hit the day that last week's episode went out. Headline: Staff for a 95-year-old federal judge says she is losing it, mentally ill, and talking to a dead colleague. I don't know, is that bad? Judge Pauline Newman says her fellow appeals judges are trying to force her off the federal circuit, but in a new decision, a staffer is quoted saying Newman is simply losing it mentally. She claims she claims that she's been hacked when she can't find a file or email, which is great, because that's basically that has to be the new version. That's the updated high-tech version of saying that the help stole it, right? It was my cleaning lady that stole it. It had to have been them. But yeah, in a new decision, the court said that people from her own chambers have claimed that she has become paranoid and agitated and made nonsense claims about her phone being bugged and email being hacked. She allegedly threatened to have a staffer arrested and claimed to have communed with a judge who passed away in 2006. So it's just totally in line with what I was talking about with the Dianne Feinstein thing, is that, like, there's never been a situation like this where literally just because of the age dynamics of America right now, that there's never been a situation where one generation has absolutely captured the government the way that boomers and I guess the silent generation have. But here's the fun thing, is that so one staff member related a recent episode in which Judge Newman indicated that she was not required to comply with the court rule because Chief Judge Markey told her she could take 30 days to vote, the decision said. Chief Judge Markey has been dead for almost 17 years and has not been a member of the court for 32 years. And all of those things are obvious signs of Alzheimer's and dementia, right? Like, the paranoia is that's how we knew that my grandfather was getting paranoid, was that he started accusing my uncle of stealing stuff from him, and at one point he was like yeah, and it's like, the people in the woods, like, huh? But and then the other thing is they remember people from when they had their shit together and think that they're talking to them. But John Vecchione, a lawyer with the New Civil Liberties Alliance, who was representing Newman, wouldn't address the specifics of the decision, but he said he objected to the federal circuit both investigating and ruling on the allegations against it. It opposes them investigating an allegation that a federal court judge might be losing their mind. Like, they're going to somehow say that is ageist, is just wild, dude. But here's one of the best lines in this whole thing, is that in one case she sat on a decision for more than 600 days before it was quietly handed off to another judge who took only a month to rule on it. But yeah, and dude, she's involved in, like, in cases where it's like Apple and Intel cases where hundreds of millions of dollars in royalties are on the line, and you've got a 95-year-old woman who doesn't know what a computer is on it. Bobby, pull up this picture. So the picture there, I actually had to dig for it because the one in the original article was from 2006. This woman hasn't been in front of a camera for 10 years. That was her when she's 85. Not 95 like she is now. She was still a babe in that picture. But all right, I'll get off. I'll stop being ageist. Stop being ageist, Richie. So ageist. Fun little follow along has been the Cash App guy story. Bobby, pull up the first thing there. And actually, before you even pull it up, Bobby, so Twiz, you don't know about this guy. The guy that invented Cash App, he got stabbed on the streets of San Francisco. He got stabbed in the heart. Yeah, okay, you heard about that. So he got stabbed in the heart, and immediately the right wing went crazy with that's it, it's official. The Democrat cities are a hellscape. Blah blah blah. It's the end of the world because of the Democrats. Which, hey, look, if you listen to this podcast, you know I do plenty of shitting on Democrats. Name me like 5 good Republican cities that anybody actually wants to live in. Oh wait, but so then it's turned out that guy, right away we knew this part. Within like a week, was that he actually got stabbed by the brother of a woman that he had been sleeping with, who was a married woman, and the one thing that's been weird about the coverage is that they've all emphasized, like, yeah, and her house was only 15 minutes away. Like, everything's 15 minutes away if you live in the same city as somebody. That doesn't mean anything. But they didn't know what the actual context of it was, and it turns out that the brother, who it's last name Eni, so it's Momeni, so it's probably Persian or Iranian. It was over. It was over him sleeping with his sister, but it was more that demanding to know whether she'd been doing drugs or anything inappropriate while spending time with him. Right, so it was like basically like a modern day fucking like honor killing by a Persian on the streets of San Francisco of a tech billionaire, but this guy is also or this chick is married to this plastic surgeon who's super rich, and like it's just so weird, right? Of like, I mean, it's no weirder than a "if I can't have you, no one can" type of situation where it's like my 38-year-old, however the hell old she is, sister is acting in an unchaste way because of you. It's just bizarre, but it also turns out now that there's new reporting that she's part of the lifestyle, and so it's like, I mean, I feel like a lot of stuff has like kind of touched on it in pop culture stuff, but Silicon Valley is having like a huge upsurge in swinger lifestyle where they're all fucking doing drugs and fucking each other. So, but like, it's just so insane that this chick is part of the lifestyle and might be banging 20 dudes a week and doing Molly and God knows what else, and he takes it out on the one guy. Like it's just crazy, dude, to pick out the one guy at the orgy and be like, hey, you're committing adultery, sir. Like, what? Your wife is a whore. What are you talking about? And good for her. But it's the brother. That's what's so weird about it. So the husband probably knew, right? She's coming home faced on Molly and all fucked out. He's probably doing it too, but somehow the brother gets wind of it and puts a knife in the heart of this guy. But I read a bunch of shit on the Silicon sex scene, and it's like it's all these nerds that finally have a shitload of money, and they're also all about like optimizing the human experience. So for some of these dudes, and chicks, it's like a way of accelerating the human experience. That it's like, oh well, you have to have sex with this many people before you settle down. And if you increase the amount of people, you're more likely to find, it's like if you up the amount of X and Y, then you might get to Z faster. But that's also just a great cover for wanting to do a whole bunch of drugs and fuck a bunch of chicks. Like, if nothing else, it might just kind of be that. So yeah, well, Twiz, I know I am your boss, but luckily my company doesn't have any kind of HR whatsoever, so it's okay for you to hear this story. That I absolutely 100% was a nerd that didn't get laid in high school and college much at all. It was always, I was striking gold. I just found the right girl in the right place at the right time. But when I first moved to New York, I was Yeah, I was still living. So followers of the podcast would know that I was still living in Angel's Place when I get so there's I was at the Village Lantern of all places, which was not a great comedy club. I mean, it was great. It was a workout room, right? And it was very good for what it was. It was a workout room, but there was like this old guy with two chicks that were dressed really slutty, and they were all like, or like both of these chicks were like kissing this guy on the neck and nibbling his ear and shit while like during the show, and I was hosting it. And immediately it was like, all right, you guys are rolling. Like, this ain't a couple drinks. And like, dude, whatever you paid for these chicks, fucking bravo. And they come up to me afterwards, and they're just like they're just like overly fawning, like, oh my god, you're so funny, and they like give a look back to this guy, and the guy goes, he's like, so you want to join us later? I'm like, when you say join you, he's like, you like the girls? Like, yeah. And they were actually like, they were like two hot chicks. And he's like, we have parties. I'm like, what kind of parties? And the girls are like, you should come to our party. So they give me the details that it's at the Waldorf Astoria. And they get and they have a suite at the Waldorf, and I'm immediately like, I forget what movie it was, but it was like, I just turned into that guy. I was like, you're not gonna do nothing to my butt, are you? And he's like, no, it's not like that. But there's more girls there right now. It's like, really? So swap info with this dude. And wind up going to the Waldorf Astoria and not knowing possibly what to expect. Well, first of all, I've never been to the Waldorf before, and it's real nice, and everybody is real proper and real rich and really not there for an orgy other than me. And I was like, it was the first time, I think at the time I was like a couple years sober, and it was the first time since I had gotten sober that I got that feeling that you get when, like, when you're like going to the drug dealer's house, you're about to get some coke and you haven't done it yet, or you've got coke in your pocket and you haven't done it. It was like, butterflies in the belly. It's like, I'm excited. I gotta shit a little bit, just, it's like, dude, what is about to happen here? And, yeah. And again, it's at the Waldorf, right? So I text this guy, and he's like, all right, I gotta come down to get you. And there's like 5 people in the elevators, and this dude's clearly on Molly. All right, he's faced. And he comes down and gets me, and he's like, and we're on the elevator that's completely quiet. There's 5 or 6 other people on the elevator, and he goes, all right, just so you know, there's going to be a whole lot of people fucking. A whole lot of people fucking. Just act natural. Like, I know for sure everybody in here just heard that. I'm just dead center, just like looking forward, like, just quiet, dude, fuck. And get out. Yeah, get out, and this, like, opens the door, and it was an enormous suite that actually connected, it was like a suite with 2 other rooms opened up connected to it. And, yeah, what he said was very accurate, but at first it was just a bunch of naked people, and to his credit, it was not ugly naked people, because I was expecting it to be like well, no, like, basically the rule being that, like, if people are at the nude beach, then you don't want to be on that beach. Like, it's not the people that you want to see nude, and it was like 7s and above. It was like, huh. But at first, it was just a bunch of naked people standing around, and, like, dudes, like, with no towels or anything. It was just like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. And it was But there were chicks there. That's what it was like. First thing, it was like, you got chicks at this place? Like, I thought the two that I saw might have just been the bait. You know, it's like I'm looking around from cameras and shit, and like everybody there clearly knew each other and was way more comfortable than I was. And then go into another room, and it was just Caligula of like there was like 9 people on one bed. But it was like, yeah, it was like 2 chicks just getting done on all sides. It was like, holy shit. So, yeah. So what I learned is that there is nothing in the world more awkward than trying to make small talk at an orgy. I mean, dude, it's like, go get yourself, the guy's like, go, yeah, he's like, go get yourself a drink. And I go over and I'm everybody else is probably on Molly or blow and drinking and smoking weed. I'm stone sober. I am a recovering alcoholic surrounded by naked people that are fucking on drugs. So I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna go get like a cranberry juice or something. And there's like 5 handles of vodka and 1 little thing of cranberry juice. So I just like grabbed that and I'm just like sipping out of the juice straight and actually I feel like the biggest loser in the world. And there's like some naked chick next to me and it's like, so you come here often? Like there's nothing to say that's cool in that scenario. But it actually turned out that being the guy with the cranberry juice was the move, because everybody else had vodka and they had to come to me for that. So it did work out. Yeah. It did. It was so absolutely bizarre. There's more to that to unpack, but it was not the only time that I went, I'll put it that way. It was... It actually, I think I went like 3 times, but also, so it turned out that guy was like a damn near billionaire from a couple of fintech companies. And dude was like 65, and he apparently did that in like New York, Miami, and Atlanta a lot. And some of these chicks like just lived with this dude for like months on end, just partying with this rich old dude in luxury hotels. Yeah, it was so weird. But so anyway, I tell you all of that because the whole thing with the Silicon Valley sex parties reminded me of, I couldn't think of his name. There was the secret sex lair guy that it was not nearly a viral enough story. So I looked it up. It was this dude, Henry Nicholas. Bobby, look up or pull the picture that we've got on Henry Nicholas. So the billionaire who built a cocaine bat cave. Real story. So, okay, he was the founder of a tech manufacturer called Broadcom that was charged in 2008 for financial crimes. So I don't need to read this one off. I know enough about the story. So what had happened? He had this financial tech company, right, or tech manufacturer company, and he was another nerd turned party animal, and he was like doing Molly and getting his clients to do Molly and fuck prostitutes was part of how he did business. So like he would be up for these contracts, like big contracts and like even like government contracts and shit, and he would get these guys that would come to like, you know, see his product or something in California, or like come for a demo, and instead they would go to his sex lair that was in a warehouse, and it's just filled with hookers and drugs. So instead of like they would never see the product. He would just get them faced out of their minds and get them laid for like 3 days on end. And it's like it wasn't even some Epstein shit. I don't think like it wasn't like, oh, I've got this compromising shit on you, and like, now you have to sign away your life. It was just like, this guy's awesome. Like, why would you go to the competitor of the guy that, if you're his client, you're gonna be doing Molly and banging hoes? Like, this is a no-brainer. You don't have to blackmail me. I'm doing it. You have the contract. So he okay. So so this is where it gets fun. Is that his lair began as just a modest remodeling. So this is how the whole thing started to come undone. Was that this is a married man with kids, right? And he lives in this mansion in I believe it was in California. It had to be California. And he had his original lair was in a warehouse, like I said, right? So what he wanted to do was cut out the distance between all the coke and pussy and him. So what better way to do that than to put the lair under your own house? So this fucking guy, he sent his family on vacation to Hawaii for like 2 months, and built, so it was like a quarter mile away or some shit, had an entrance that they had to burrow into the ground like the Peaky Blinders, right? And just to get the construction people there enough to like if I can drive a truck through this shit. And the wife initially started getting suspicious because because he kept extending their trip. He was like, I think you should stay for another 2 weeks. Another 2 weeks. Like, dude, you know how long it would take to, with code, like to actually do it the right way so your house isn't going to collapse on top of you, to fucking build a sub base, like a sub basement. It was like two things under his own house. But he did it, and he actually got this thing built, and he had parties going on around the clock with prostitutes that he's got just whacked out of their minds on Molly and shit. He's got DJs in there. He built all this sound buffering equipment, but it's like this super high-tech sex lair that, he would have his friends come from a quarter mile away to hang out in his own house. So this scumbag would be like watching TV with his kids, like, I want to go down to the basement real quick. And he would just go get sucked off and come back upstairs. Just an absolute savage. And it got blown up for multiple reasons. One of them being was that his wife came down. His wife, he got sloppy or something, and like the wife came in, like went all the way down and saw him in bed with some sex worker, not prostitute. I'm sorry for that microaggression, for a sex worker, and he was so blasted he didn't even stop. Which really is just ninja focus, dude. Like, your whole life, you're about to lose half of all of your belongings. You just keep fucking eyeing the tiger on that broad. But yeah, he turned the tunnel into a fortress, possibly because he had the nickname Superman, blah, blah, blah. He made it look like an actual cave by coating the walls with rough stone. And then once he built the real thing, he installed several secret passages connecting the tunnel directly to the outside, one behind a boulder in the wine cellar, and one opening into what looked like an ordinary horse shed on a nearby hill. So, yeah, and then the other way, he had 24/7 parties going on, and the way that he, the other thing that blew it up was that the contractors of the lair sued him because he told these guys to do it in like this impossible time, and it was like, I've got money, you'll do whatever it takes. And then he stiffed them, and then also it doesn't pay them, and then also threatens to kill them. And here's a really real tip: never threaten to kill somebody, just kill them. You've already got a sub basement. How much more could it cost to build a sub basement to put a tomb into that bitch? Just saying. You've got guys that can dig tunnels, you know? But, yeah, so dude, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole on this guy. And, well, actually, before I get, remind me to come back to this. So yeah, old Henry Nicholas, he gets indicted, and it was initially like he was accused of, and I don't even know what the real crime would be, but it was basically of getting clients shit-faced on drugs, and he was like getting people to sign papers while they were on ecstasy, like, and just in a pile of naked chicks, like, hey, give me it. So he got accused of that, and also of, he had all kinds of drug trafficking charges, because when he got raided, they found him with tons of shit, but like, his defense, which was pretty legitimate, was, I'm not a drug trafficker, I just do tons of drugs. There's a huge difference. Like, this is all for the head, baby. But, so, he, somehow, the initial case got thrown out, because the judge said that the government had intimidated witnesses and put together a shameful case. So the initial, like, the financial shenanigans, drug trafficking went away, but then it was, he winds up, after this, wife leaves him, he somehow stays out of jail, and this was in, I think, 2016, he gets, Bobby, cut some of that out, would you? Yeah, so what had happened was he winds up getting sued for $70 million from his live-in girlfriend, because he had told her he was going to support her forever, and he was giving her $25,000 a month. Just, actually, I don't think she was living. It was just $25,000 a month he was giving her just to hook up with him and do drugs with him whenever he wanted to. And then he cut her off. And only in America can you sue somebody for not giving you $25,000 anymore just because you really liked it. But $70 million for basically being a coke whore. Can you sue somebody for that in Nigeria, Twiz? Nope. So, and then the dude winds up with old Henry Nicholas again. Almost went to jail in Vegas because of drug trafficking charges again in 2019. But dude, the difference in the before and after for 11 years of this man's life of doing hard drugs is wild. Bobby, pull up current. Holy shit. Actually, dude, so this picture actually just reminded me of that the weirdest thing about being at an orgy was that all the dudes, none of them would say it, but all the dudes were absolutely on Viagra or Blue Chew or some shit. So it's a bunch of cute girls that are walking around. They look great naked. Dudes are just trying to avoid eye contact with each other while naked, but they'll like put a towel on, and it's like you can just out of the corner of the eye, dude is still obviously hard under this towel. But the giveaway was that everybody's face is just bright red. So it's like you're just trying to make small talk with some guy whose face is just gushing sweat, because that's what Viagra does. It's just the capillarity of it. It's just like, oh yeah, real estate, cool, yeah, just gushing, dude. Like, yeah, no, I'm not on anything either. No, you, no. Just look like it got out of a sauna. But that's what this dude looks like right now. Okay, so this is the perfect ending to this episode. is that I will tell you the Josie story. This was a way more orgy heavy episode. No, I thought this was going to be pretty orgy heavy. I just didn't know I was going to go on this long. So, dude, before bitch ass Angel was even a possibility, I should have learned my lesson with Craigslist roommates the first time I ever found one. Right, so I'm living in Philly, and I was doing comedy and coaching. It had like 3 months left in the coaching season, and I was living with this dude, my buddy Fitzy, it was a total odd couple. I was 24, he was 42, brought together strictly by cocaine, and his sister lived in Thailand, and it was the year of the tsunami, right? It was like, that sounds like it's on their calendar, like the year of the rat or something. No, it was like the year that the tsunami hit, and she's like floating on a log in Thailand. He calls her, or she calls him, and says she would love to move in with him. So he's a good Irish brother. So she's in, I'm out of my precarious spot in this apartment. And so I have to find an apartment quick because, because I got to ride out the rest of the season. And everything's like, and I'm making no money at this point, right? Like, it's just absolute, everything is shit. And so I go on Craigslist, and everything's like $1,000, $1,500, not a chance. And then there's one shining gem that was $360. It was close to the boathouse, so it's like the right-ish neighborhood, and it was down to earth. This shit was like 20 years ago. I still remember the actual posting that I replied to. It was down to earth roommate wanted for medical student and 50-something baby boomer type. Right? That's what I replied to. And so I set up a time to go and talk to them and see the place. And I meet this guy Daniel, who's a gay black dude, but like very composed, super conservative. He's a Penn medical student, and he's like, "All right, well, you're gonna want to meet Josie. She's interesting." I was like, "Okay." So I have to jump through the hoop of going back the next day to meet Josie, and she was 5 feet tall, 320 pounds, right? Just perfectly round, like just perfect. It would have been just as easy to climb over her as it was to go around her. Like, she's just perfectly spherical woman. And she's a light-skinned black chick and has like Dennis Rodman orange hair. And she's a shout talker and incapable of eye contact, right? So like I'm in the apartment, and she's like, "Yeah, so I'm like never here, so if I am here, I'm online, and, whatever, it's a male-dominated world, whatever, I'm just so over it, so, if you want it," she's got this ribbit, she's like, "So, if you want it, the place is, like, yours," I was like, "I'll take it," right? All I hear is $360. That's all I fucking hear. So, a couple days later, I'm living there, and I've got the Wednesday night open mic at the Laugh House, which means that I just ate a bunch of their chicken wings, and those things made me shit. So I have got to poop, and I'm like putting my keys in the door, like fiddling with them, and I hear "Row! Row!" I'm like, "Is there a cat?" And then I hear like, "Row! Row!" And then I hear, fuck me, I'm a bad pussy cat. I was like, oh shit. And I'm hoping that it's just really loud sex coming from the door. I open the door, and Josie is in like a furry outfit, and she's sandwiched between some guy that looks like Willie Nelson while going down, like he's hitting it from the back and she's going down on a lunch lady, right? It's the only way to explain it. And the dude, they stop for a second, and the dude literally just goes, "Jump on in here, brother, it's all you can eat." I was like, what the fuck? Meanwhile, this is the couch that I brought into the apartment that she's getting smashed on. I suddenly don't have to poop anymore. I just go downstairs in this absolute I didn't even mention, it's a fire trap of an apartment. It's a miracle I didn't burn to death in this place. Dude, I'm just chugging NyQuil, I'm getting it in me, right? So like I make myself pass out. I wake up at noon the next day, and I'm walking around I go up to the upstairs, like, just to get food, and Josie comes out of her apartment, of her room, and she's got a shirt on that's way too small and panties that are way too small, and she's shout talking on the phone. She's like, "Oh, yeah, I needed that. Like, I haven't done that for, like, weeks. And, like, for real, like, she needs love, too." Right? And, like, she's just... And I can't sit on the couch. I'm just on, like, one wooden chair, because it's like, all right, there's no way there's jizz on this. So she gets done, she hangs up the call. And finally, it's silence in there, and I'm like, "So you have fun?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, well, I guess now is as good a time as any to tell you that I don't know if I would, like, call myself a swinger, but, I am part of an adult online community, and I am very involved in the multiple sex scene." Like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Yeah, it's, like, super secretive." I was like, "What is it, like Adult Friend Finder or something?" She's like, "So you've heard of it? Oh my god, you and your girlfriend." I would totally fuck your girlfriend, by the way. "You're so invited." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I think we're good on that." And she's like, "Yeah, I go to physical," and she just keeps hitting me with details. She's like, "I go to physical parties sometimes, and I got this friend, Debbie, and I don't know if she's a nymphomaniac per se, but, she'll service anywhere between 25 and 30 men a night." And, I was like, "Yeah, okay." And she's like, "Well, her husband is quadriplegic, and, he doesn't mind. He sits right there and watches, and, before you have sex with her, all you have to do is just politely ask him, and he'll always say yes." Like, dude, this world just got so much darker so fast. So this chick is getting blasted by 30 dudes, and this guy that can't move, you just have to go up to this guy and be like, hey bro, you mind if I hit that?" And he's just like, "I'm gonna take that as a yes. That sounds like a yes to me. Please kill me. Stop fucking my wife." So, dude, when I'm unpacking this whole thing, I'm looking back for what I could have missed. So I see Daniel the next time, and I was like, "Dude, she's a full-blown swinger. She's getting gangbanged on the fucking couch. Like, you couldn't have told me that when I first moved in, or before I moved in." He's like, "I told you she's interesting." I was like, "And aren't you Sam's interesting?" This trifling bitch. This is not interesting. This is a disease vector on my couch. The fuck is happening here, man? And then the red flag that I missed was that the email address that I replied to on Craigslist, you know, when I first got there was Josie Pink Pussycat 69 at yahoo.com. But yo, all I saw was $360, dude. But this was a fun episode, man. Twiz, this was great hanging out with you like this. Thank you for kicking it with me. And thank you guys for watching. And I'm Richie Redding, and that's Really Real. So please, hit the little buttons, the thingies, like, subscribe. I'm huge in Nigeria. Come on, baby. Let's get this thing cooking. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Do the things. Love you. Bye.
In a world that's been kicked in the nuts by fake news, nobody knows what to believe.
I don't know what I said.
We need one maverick newsman to cut through all the noise and tell us what's really real.
I'm not that guy.